everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Cow, and today we are making a heartfelt gift envelope. Perfect for Valentine's Day, perfect for any time when you want to give a gift to one of your loved ones, to a friend, family member, or just for yourself, just to keep your little bits and bobs in, or a nice note to yourself. A lot of times these days people are choosing to have like affirmations to remind themselves that today is going to be a good day and all of that, so you could use it for that. It would be perfect to pop in a little note in for you to have a look at every day, just to keep by your bed. In the Facebook group Beyond the Cow, there the pattern for this is there, the written pattern, and there's a few variations of how you can make this up and how you can finish it off. I'm going to show you a couple of ways today, and I'm going to show you how to make the heart, which you, by all means, you don't have to make a heart, but I'm going to show you how to make that, especially because it's Valentine's Day. So let's get started. Okay, so selecting your squares, you can use any square you like, depending on what you're going to be putting inside your gift envelope. So you can do choose a square that's in rows. You could choose a square that's done in the round. It's entirely up to you. All that it really matters about is what you're going to be putting inside. So if you're going to be putting in some sweets, candy, or jewellery, or anything small, you want to make sure you haven't got small gaps. You want to just make sure that whatever you're putting in inside your gift envelope will not fall through. An open type square with lots of holes is suitable for a gift card. That would be totally fine. Just bear in mind it will show through. I have a card here, so you can see that that does show through there, but that's entirely your own choice. Just show you, it shows through there a little bit, whereas it doesn't show through this kind of square very much at all. Okay, so choose your square and if you wanted a more solid square, then the basic solid closed granny square is a good choice for this. Something like this, or this square here, you can see is very similar, only it has a little bit more interest in the centre. It starts with a circle and continues in the round as the closed solid granny. This was the cactus square from the 2018 Cal. There's a link to the 2018 Cal below. There's a Facebook group with all the patterns, or to the YouTube channel where there are the tutorials. So look for the cactus square. We had a cactus on here. So this has a little bit more interest in the centre if you wanted to just, you know, change it up a little bit from the basic granny. And of course it doesn't, you can use your square whatever size you choose. The idea of today's make is that it's a nice quick make, a nice small little gift for Valentine's Day, or anytime you want to give a nice little gift to somebody. That's the idea of it. But if you wanted to make a bigger one, you by all means could. This is the Circle of Friends square that we had as the November YouTube bonus. It's about 9 inches. These are all 6 inches square. This is about 9 inches square, and it's beautiful. I love it, love it. And again, that's all in the 2018 Cal. So you could use one of these as well if you prefer a bigger square. Okay, I'm just going to work with this basic solid granny today. So to start, what you want to do is to have the front of your square, the right side of your square, facing the table. So you want the wrong side facing up to you, okay? And pop it in a diamond shape like so. And then we're basically going to make an envelope. So you want to fold the sides in and then fold the bottom up. So you're just folding the corners to the centre, leaving the top point open, and you can see that that's your envelope flap. Okay, now you might want to grab some stitch markers or pins and just pin these points together. So just pin these together. You can pin 2 points together, or you can pin all 3 together, whichever you prefer. Pin them together so they're not going to move, and that is how your little gift envelope is going to make up. Okay, so what we're going to do is sew or crochet these 2 pieces together. So this side here and this side here, we're going to close these gaps up and sew or crochet those together, and that is entirely your choice as to how you want to do that. If you are a member of the Facebook group Beyond the Cal, you will know that during January we gave you 4 or 5 joining techniques, and they are all on our playlist. If you click on our icon just down there, BTC, you'll see the playlist for joining techniques, and there's lots of different joining techniques there. Some that will work better for this than others. So you can just do a simple stitch, or you can do a crochet join for this. So as this is a crochet channel, I'm going to crochet. I'm going to just make a little feature of it by using a contrasting pink, mostly so you can see what I've done. You could use the same colour or a different colour, it's entirely up to you. Now I've just undone this because I actually find it easier to work without that in place, but leave it there if you need it. Okay, the only other thing to say to bear in mind is if your square has a particular design on it, then make sure that you have that in the right place. Make sure that your design is the right way up, okay? I've taken my stitch markers out because actually I find it easier to do it without. So what I'm going to do is bring these 2 sides together, okay, and then I'm just going to fold it like so, and then I'm going to start in this stitch down here, because then when I come up to the top I can continue and do the next side, okay? So this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to start where this fold is, and we're just going to go into that stitch, into the stitch on the other side, and do a single crochet. Because I've got my slip stitch, I'm just going straight in to do a single crochet, okay? And then I'm just going to work into each stitch along and do single crochets, simples, okay, all the way to the top. This gives it a nice raised texture on the front there. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 in this corner. This is a chain corner. If it was stitches in the corner, then you could just go into the first stitch and leave the middle stitch, okay? And then I want to do this side together. So I'm going to come straight over and go into there and do a single crochet. Now if I had that centre stitch, I would just do a slip stitch in that centre stitch and then move over to the next one, okay? If I had 3 stitches in the corner, for instance, that is what I would do. I'd do a slip stitch in a second and then come straight over to the next one. And then I'm just going to go straight down this side. Again, 1 single crochet into each stitch, through to the other side. Sometimes you might need to just sort of move your work and just double check that you're going through the stitch correctly on the other side. Can't always see it too clearly. So, okay, all the way down. So remember, you could do any kind of stitch you like. You could do a slip stitch joint, you could use your needle and do a whip stitch or a mattress stitch, or just a simple running stitch actually. All you need to do is just make sure it's secure, and that's all you need to do. So I'm going to fasten that off and snip, and then I am going to use my needle to pop that inside. Okay, so this is what I have now. It looks like it's going to be a box actually. That would be quite cool. You don't have to flatten it. You could use it as some kind of little boxy thing if you like. It's your project. Okay, so I'm going to pop these ends into the centre, or into the inside, sorry. So I'm just going to thread my needle and then pop this through inside. There we go. And then just secure this through the inside by just make sure I pull that through well enough, and then just make sure you secure this. So I'm going to go back and forth a few times. This small little project isn't quite as desperate for it to be sort of really securely woven in, because it's not going to probably be moved around too much or pulled. But if you were doing a bigger, like, you know, when we did the bag, or if you were doing a bigger project, then when you're sewing in your ends, you do want to make sure that you weave it back and forth a few times. Make sure it's really not going to come out if it gets tugged and pulled. Okay, because most yarns do stretch, so you don't want that to come undone. So if I just snip that, and see, however I pull it, it's not going to pop out easily, and if it does, it will only be that last weave through that will come undone. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same on this side with my starting piece of yarn, and then I will get back to you with what I have. Okay, there we go. It's all sewn in and looking nice and neat and cute. So the only other thing is to decide how you're going to close this. You could use a simple button to close this with. A button there, and then whether you have a natural sort of buttonhole. You can see this chain corner is kind of a natural buttonhole, or you might need to make a little chain loop. So you could do a simple button. Okay, so I've got a couple of little buttons here. So you could use, I've got a heart button there, and I've got a little flower button in pink. So you could just attach that on, and then either use the natural buttonhole. As I said, some of these squares will have a natural buttonhole in the corner, or you'll need to make a chain. Okay, which I'm going to show you the chain in a moment. You could pop that one there, and then it would look like that when you've finished. Cute. Okay, so this one's probably a little too small. Okay, so you could use a button, or you could, or if you're using a button and your square is quite open, particularly say this square, if you try to sew a button onto, let me just join a couple of these. Okay, if you try to sew a button sort of to here, it's a bit open. So what you might want to do is grab a little piece of felt or some kind of stiff fabric, and then just pop that on the back, and then when you sew your button, sew through the fabric on the other side. I don't have a piece of fabric to show you of felt or anything, but you just pop a small piece of fabric or felt on the back, and then sew your button through the square and through the fabric on the back, and that will just strengthen that, okay, if you've got quite an open square. Okay, another way is to use a piece of yarn and just tie a simple bow. So I've just threaded it through underneath. Make sure you fill it first though before you tie it up. I've just threaded it through and then through a couple of holes at the top and made a bow. Now my yarn it's a bit curly, so it's not laying nice and neatly, but to hold it out, you could dampen it and just stretch it out so that it lays nicely, and you have a nice simple bow. Like I said, mine is not wanting to lay particularly nicely and play properly. So that's one really simple quick way you could do your closure. And obviously if you wanted that to be a bit thicker, you could make a chain and weave the chain through as well. So many possibilities, and you've probably got lots of ideas that I haven't got as well, so it'd be great to see what you do with it. The other thing you can do, this is called the Heartfelt gift envelope. So the other thing you can do is to make a heart as a kind of button. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make the heart. Valentine's Day is coming up, so what better than to make a little heart, even if it's for yourself. Even if you're not going to put it on this, if you want to see how to make a cute little heart, keep watching. Okay, let's make a heart. I'm using my regular DK light worsted weight yarn, but I'm going down, or 2 hook sizes really, so I'm going down to a 3.5mm, and normally I would use a 4.5 or a 4mm for this yarn. The only thing to bear in mind with using a smaller hook is that it might want to split the yarn, so just be aware of that. You might need to take your time a bit more with a smaller hook. And the reason I'm using a smaller hook is just to make it a bit smaller to fit on my little envelope. Okay, so you can start with either a chain 4 and then slip stitch to make a ring, or you can use the magic ring. I'm going to use the magic ring. So the magic ring, if you've not done it before, place the yarn over your hand. I've got the tail here over my hand, and I'm going to wrap the working yarn around and over my fingers. Oops, try that again. So over your hand, wrap it round, 2 fingers, over in an X, over the back of my hand, and then I like to trap that between my little finger and my ring finger. Okay, and then I take my hook under the first, over the second, and pull through, and then I give that a little twist, and then I like to pull up the working yarn and through that loop to make a chain. And that normally you kind of have the magic ring and it's all flopping and it's opening and you don't know what to do with it. That secures it nicely, and now I don't have to worry about it coming off the hook or opening. That is my magic ring, and you can see that I can just pull this tail and adjust it or open it to make it bigger. Okay, so what we're going to do is find the end of the yarn. Okay, now if I'm using a pattern that doesn't require any chain at the start, I just ignore that little loop that I've made. I just ignore it. But in this case, we need to do a chain 3. So whatever kind of ring you've made, you want to chain 3. So I'm going to count that as my first one. So chain 3. And then you want to do 5 treble crochets. Now I'm using US terms, so 5 treble crochets. I think I said I'm using UK terms. I apologise. I'm using US terms. If I said US and I thought I said UK, then just ignore that. I can't remember what I said. But this is US terms, treble crochet. So in the UK terms, that would be a double treble. So 5 treble crochets. And then 4 double crochets. Chain 2, And then this is one side of the heart. You're going to make the other side of the heart by doing the same in reverse. So you want to do 4 double crochets and then 5 treble crochets. And I will see you when I've done that. 4 double and 5 treble. Okay, once you have that side done, you'll see that it is looking more heart-shaped now. So to finish off, you want to do a chain 3 and then slip stitch into your ring. Now I find with the magic ring, or even if you're doing the chain 4 and slip stitch ring, just pull your tail in most of the way first. Maybe not all of the way, because if you do a slip stitch ring, you can still pull it in a little way. So I like to pull it in most of the way and then do the slip stitch down in the centre. And then I'm going to fasten off but leave a tail for sewing it in, or on rather. Okay, so just pull that tight, and there you can pull your tail in tighter now, and there is your cute little heart. Love that. How cute is that? Love it, love it. So you might want to experiment and see if you know what yarn you want to use, what size hook, because it will make a difference to how big it comes up, and also how loose it is. This is quite closed in together because I've used a smaller hook, but if I used a bigger hook it would be more open. Okay, so that's quite a nice little size for the front of that little envelope. So okay, now if you've never used a magic ring before, the only thing to really bear in mind is that because it can open quite easily with just a little tug, it can open, is you want to secure it nicely on the back. So I like to just go under a loop at the back and then pull through, and then I like to do a little sort of knot through like if I was sewing. You know when you just do regular sewing, darning. Do people still darn their clothes? And then weave it around that centre to hide the end, just as you would with any normal crochet. Okay, and then leave this one free for sewing to your envelope. So I'm going to sort this end out and then we'll sew it to the envelope. Okay, so when you're sewing this to the envelope, you want to if you're sewing it as to use as a button, you want to make sure you only sew sort of the centre. You want to leave the outer part free to be folded to fit through a buttonhole. Okay, so just sew this sort of centre part. Okay, so I'm just going to sew it sort of here. Make sure the flap can come down and then sew it, so about there. Okay, so I'm just going to attach it through and sew around nice and simply. Nothing too complicated about this really. I'm just going to sew through. Don't try and go through too many pieces at once, or you might get in a bit of a pickle. Just take it through. You can take it through the heart, and then you can take it through the square underneath. No shame in taking it slowly at all. So just work around, fix it to your square, and then make sure you secure it nicely when you fasten off. Okay, so I'll see you when I've finished. And there we go, there's my little heart sewn on. Okay, so the last thing to do is to make a closure to go around the heart. So unless you've got a very big chain corner here, something to act as a natural buttonhole, then you'll need to make a chain. So I've just got a slip knot on my yarn. I'm going to go into this first stitch before my corner, or go into the corner if you have a corner stitch, whichever works best for you. Join your yarn near that point anyway. And then got a piece of the yarn from the square caught in there. Not good. Not good at all. So let's do that again. Join my yarn in there. Okay. And then I'm going to chain 10. Okay, and then I'm just going to go into the first stitch on the other side and do a slip stitch. I'm not going to fasten off my yarn yet. I'm just going to pull up a loop so that's secure, and then I'm just going to check that this chain is right for my heart, because they're all different sizes. So just check that your heart can fold and fit through that chain. So just, this is where you need to make sure that you didn't sew the outside of your heart, so it can just be sort of folded and prized through. So there we go, that's a nice snug fit. So that fits lovely for me. If you need to increase your chains, then go ahead and increase your chains, or if you need to take a few away, then you can do that. Okay, so that's going to work for me just fine. So I'm now going to fasten this off. So just secure that, pull through. Okay, and then you just need to weave in these ends of yarn, which I'm going to go through the chain a couple of times because it's the same colour. It's a different colour to the square. If it was the same colour as the square, you could weave it in through the square, but it's different, so I don't want it to stand out. So I'm going to weave those in and then show you the finished result. Okay, that's all sewn in, woven in, and ready to do up. So all that's left to do is to pop in your gift card, chocolates, whatever gift you are giving to somebody, and then close it up. And get ready to give to your recipient, your Valentine or any loved one would be pleased to receive this, I am sure. There we go. Nice little gift. Perfect for Valentine's Day or any time you want to give someone a heartfelt gift. And if you wanted to, you could sew the heart, actually fits nicely on this top flap, and then you could sort of put a little popper underneath or something. Whatever you fancy. And if you fancy changing this up, you could give it a little handle by just doing a chain and then working back over the chain with some single crochets, or whatever you like. The possibilities are endless. You could even crochet a little tiny tag to attach. Absolutely, whatever you fancy doing. So cute little envelope for a loved one, a friend, anybody, even for yourself, to keep your little treasured possessions in. So there we go, heartfelt gift envelope. So if you have found this tutorial helpful and useful, then please click that like button down there and give us a thumbs up. It's very much appreciated. And I can't wait to see photos of your envelopes in our Facebook group. The links are all down there for everything that you need to know. And until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.